Today the evidence session we're going to start. ISA 500 audit evidence. So last video we look at audit planning. So audit planning is fully done. Now let's move to audit evidence. So if I take audit evidence ISA 500, so let's write down the flow chart. So if I take the flow chart, audit evidence ISA 500, sufficient, appropriate. The appropriate can be further subdivided into two: relevant, reliability. Relevant, reliability. And if I move to the second one, assertions. So assertions further subdivided into two, that is income statement assertion, balance sheet assertion. Income statement assertion and balance sheet assertion. Number 3. Audit procedures. Audit procedures, it includes inspect, observation, confirmation, recalculation, reperformance, ARP, analytical review procedures. All these are audit procedures. And the fourth one, audit sample. Audit sample. Items to be selected for testing, ISA 500, and sampling methods, ISA 530. Those comes under audit sampling. Actually, audit sampling is a part of selecting methods. Selecting methods 500 and audit sampling methods governed by ISA 530. So this is the flow chart for audit evidence. So let's move to the flow chart. It need to be extended like this, right? So the space is not sufficient, so I'll move to the next one. Right here, using the work of others. Using the work of others. Number 5. So if I take using the work of others, it's a very important standard. Using the work of others. Experts. Number 1, experts. Experts. There are two types of experts. Number 1 is management expert. Standard is ISA 500. Auditors expert. Standard is ISA 620. And the second thing is internal auditor. The second thing is internal auditor. So internal auditor, the standard is ISA 610. Internal auditor, the standard is ISA 610. So if I take the internal auditor, we're going to discuss two different things. One is relying the work of internal auditor. Relying the work of internal auditor and internal audit direct assistance. Internal audit direct assistance. So both comes under ISA 610 under internal audit. So some extent we are relying on the expert. To some situations we are relying on the internal auditor. Right? Next one, service organization. Service organization. The standard is ISA 402. In some situation, we need to rely on service organization. In some situation, we need to rely on service organization. What is service organization? Service organization provided services to the business. Otherwise, I can say that particular company can outsource its function to a third party. Service organization. So sometime our payroll function outsourced, finance function outsourced. So those are tax function outsourced. So those are significant parts of financial statement. Sometimes entire finance function is outsourced. Right? In such case, auditor need to rely on service organization also when they are gathering evidence. When they are gathering evidence. Right? So that is service organization. Right. Number 6. Automated tools and techniques. It's a newly added area. It's a newly added area to the syllabus. Automated tools and techniques. So if I take automated tools and techniques, we are going to discuss test data. Test data. Audit software. So test data, audit software. So test data and audit software together we call computer assisted audit technique. Simply we call CAT. Computer assisted audit techniques. And also we need to discuss data analytics. 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 So these are the flowchart. These are the flowchart. So these are the flowchart about ISA 500 audit evidence. Right. So the same thing I need to give as examinable points, but I'll tell you one thing. Even if you studied this area, even if you covered this area fully, right? Let's take this area as a theory area, right? So the theory is like we are discussing ISAs, auditing standards. Even it's a theory area, we're going to discuss as a standards ISA. That is what we're going to do. So it's very, very important. It's very, very important, even though it's theory. Like audit planning, we discuss several standards. Here also, audit evidence, again, we're going to discuss more standards. Therefore, very, very important. It's very, very important to understand this standards well. To understand this standard well. So, in your exam, examiner can test these standards directly or indirectly. Both are possible, right? If I take directly means sometime examiner might ask direct questions. What is sufficiency? What are the factors decide sufficiency or influence sufficiency? Likewise, a direct question is also possible. Likewise, a direct question also possible. But again, examiner can give a scenario. Examiner can give a scenario and examiner can test standards related to that scenario. Examiner can test standards relating to that scenario. So that is possible, both possible in this area. Therefore, need to study these standards very well, need to cover all these areas very well. Don't think it is not much important. I told you if examiner want to test theory area, the major topics are audit evidence and audit planning only, right? Okay. Now, let's move to the particular first point called audit evidence, sufficient and appropriate. Sufficient and appropriate. Right. See here. Audit evidence, the standard said. Audit evidence, the standard, it said that whatever the evidence gathered by auditor, whatever the evidence gathered by auditor, it should be sufficient and it should be appropriate, right? Another term for appropriate is quality. Another term for appropriateness is what? Quality. Therefore, auditor should obtain sufficient evidence plus appropriate evidence. Right? What do you mean by the term sufficiency? Sufficiency is like, in a simple way, I can say, we feel enough. Right? Let's take your food. Some people will eat one plate of food. Some people eat two plate of food. It depends. It depends on several factors. Right? So the decision that you take a decision that it is sufficient or not. The sufficiency is a matter of judgment, basically. The sufficiency is a matter of what? Judgment. So you need to decide whether it is sufficient or not. Right? So sufficiency means enough. Sufficiency means enough. And it's a quantifiable aspect. It's a quantifiable aspect. As I told, some people will eat one plate of rice. Some people will eat two plates of rice. But there are several factors. There are several factors that we need to consider, or there are several factors that will influence that particular sufficiency, judgment of sufficiency. Okay, So make it simple. It's like this. If you go to a wedding house, normally you eat one plate. But if you go to a wedding house, you will eat more than one plate. Let's take your non-veg person, right? If the food is veg, then maybe less than one plate. Or if you like veg, then more than one plate. So what I'm trying to tell you is, obviously when there is a factors, there are several factors that will influence your decision called sufficiency. So what I'm trying to tell you is, audit evidence need to be sufficient and audit evidence need to be appropriate. Another term for appropriate is quality. Sufficiency is a matter of auditor's judgment. Sufficiency is a matter of auditor's judgment. Several factors influence the term sufficiency. Several factors influence the term sufficiency. If I take audit evidence, what are the factors influence? What are the factors influence sufficiency? The first thing is risk. Yes, if the risk is high, we need to collect more evidence. At the same time, if the risk is low, we need to collect less evidence. Experience. Let's take the experience is very high. We need to collect less evidence. Right? So, more experience, less evidence. More experience, less evidence. Less experience, more evidence. And reliable. Reliable. What do you mean by the term reliability? When the evidence is more reliable, then less evidence is enough. But when the evidence is less reliable, more evidence need to be collected. And effectiveness of internal control. Control efficiency. If the control is really effective, less evidence is enough. If the control is not effective, more evidence is needed. Right? All these factors that will affect the term sufficiency. Now let's come to the point. Sufficiency is a matter of auditor's judgment. And what are the factors influence sufficiency? Risk, experience, reliable, effectiveness of internal control. Other than that, there are a lot of things are there, right? Like population size. If the population size is very big, we should collect more evidence. If the population size is low or less, then less evidence is fine. And also the materiality. If the element is highly material, more evidence to be gathered. If it is less material, less evidence to be gathered. Right? So the term sufficiency is a matter of auditor's judgment. The term sufficiency is a matter of auditor's judgment. That you need to understand. Now let's come to the point appropriateness. Now let's come to the term appropriateness. Appropriateness of audit evidence means simply we call quality evidence. Appropriateness of evidence means simply we call quality evidence. Right? Simply I can call it as quality evidence. Quality. So the quality evidence, appropriate evidence can be relevant and reliable. When evidence is relevant and reliable, that is what we call appropriateness. So what is mean by the term relevant? The term relevant, simply I can say, evidence logically connect with audit objectives or assertion. Any evidence that logically connected with audit objective or assertion. If it is logically connected with audit objective, if it is logically connected with assertion, that is we call relevant evidence. That is, we call relevant evidence. Clear? I'll tell you an example. I'll tell you an example for relevancy, because I told you the term appropriateness. The term appropriateness, or else the term quality. Appropriateness or the term quality, it is consist, relevant and reliability. Right? So what is relevant? It should meet the objective of the assertion. For example, I'll taking an assertion called rights and obligation. I'll take an assertion called rights and obligation. So if I take this assertion, rights and obligation, let's take rights and obligation is a balance sheet assertion. So if you confuse with these assertions, rights and obligations, don't worry. In this topic itself, audit evidence, we're going to discuss about assertion in detail. So you will catch up those assertions related things in detail. So no worries about it, right? So if you didn't understand this point now, just look at the video. End of the audit evidence video, there are 3 video clips, I guess, when it comes to audit evidence. So when you see those video clips related to audit evidence, you will clearly understand the assertions. Thereafter, if you come back and see this part, you will clearly understand it is not a big deal, right? So if you didn't understand what is assertion, nothing to worry now. So rights and obligation is a balance sheet assertion. Rights and obligation is a balance sheet assertion. So example, let's take motor vehicle. Example, let's take motor vehicle. Motor vehicle is 1.5 million. So if you go to a client place, the client is giving the financial statements to you all. Client is giving the financial statements to you all. The financial statements, the motor vehicle 1.5 million. The value of motor vehicle is how much? 1.5 million. So if you are an auditor, you need to verify first whether this motor vehicle is actually belongs to the company or not. Right? Because you all know the definition of assets, right? So if I take the definition of asset, the asset is a resource of a company. That particular asset is a resource of a company. And it is controlled by the entity. It is controlled by the entity. And economic benefit inflow is probable. You can receive economic benefits also in future. So if you want to check the assets, motor vehicle, the very first thing is company have a legal right to recognize it as an asset. Right? If this motor vehicle belongs to the owner, owner's vehicle cannot be recognized as an asset at company's financial statement. Owner's assets cannot be recognized as assets in financial statements. Therefore, you are going to check what? Rights and obligations. You're going to check the rights and obligations. Actually, if it is an asset, it is rights. If it is an asset, it is rights. If it is a liability, it is an obligation. If it is a liability, it is an obligation. Okay. So now let's say the motor vehicle 1.5 million. Motor vehicle 1.5 million. So balance sheet, assertion, rights and obligations. So I'm going to verify this 1.5 million. So when I am verifying, I'll do a procedure. See, inspect vehicle registration book. Inspect vehicle registration book. in order to confirm legal ownership. So inspect vehicle registration book in order to confirm legal ownership. So if I take the evidence, what is the evidence here? What is the evidence here? Vehicle registration book. This is the evidence. So the evidence that we collected here is vehicle registration book. So vehicle registration book is an evidence. That evidence is logically connect with the assertion. So if you take the vehicle registration book, yes, you can confirm rights and obligation. If you take vehicle registration book, you can confirm what? Rights and obligation, the legal ownership. Instead of vehicle registration book, if I said like this, parking slip. Can you able to verify rights and obligation by taking or inspecting parking slip? Can you able to verify rights and obligation by inspecting parking slip? So if you take parking slip, through that you unable to verify the ownership. You are unable to verify the ownership. But if you take this particular procedure, vehicle or registration book, that evidence logically connect with the rights and obligation. Logically connect with the rights and obligation. On the other hand, the parking slip is not logically connect with registration book. Right? So parking slip is not logically connect with this rights and obligation. That's what you need to understand. Right? So rights and obligation is an assertion. Evidence is logically connect with the rights and obligation. Then such evidence known as relevant evidence. Then such evidence is known as relevant evidence. Okay. So that is what mentioned here. See, the evidence need to be, see here. The evidence need to be logically connected with audit objective or assertion. The evidence need to be logically connected with audit objective or assertion. That is what called relevant evidence. Right? Now let's come to the reliability. If I take the reliability, I'll take it separately. If I take the reliability, another term for reliability is quality. Quality evidence. Another term for reliability is quality. It's a quality evidence. Quality evidence. So simply, if I take the terms reliability, following factors to be influenced, following factors influence the term reliability. The term reliability. Right. So here, this one, if you take, I think this one is not clear for you. So I am going to write the same thing here. So when you are watching this video clip, whatever in this flow chart only I break, right? So here I put everything together, right? That's what I'm breaking here. Appropriateness, see, appropriateness I break here. Sufficiency, relevant I explain. Now I'm going to explain the reliability. That reliability I'll take separately. So when you are taking a reliable evidence, always when you are collecting evidence, that evidence need to be sufficient first as per the standard ISA 500. That sufficient, is it enough? No, it should be appropriate. What is appropriate? Appropriate is relevant and quality. Relevant and reliable. Relevant and reliable. It should be relevant evidence. It should be reliable evidence. It should be relevant evidence and it should be reliable evidence. So if I take this reliability, it's like this. the following factors to be influence the term reliability. The following factors to be influence the term reliability. What are the factors influence the term reliability? The first factor is source of the evidence. Source of the evidence. Source of the evidence factor evaluate or influence the reliability. Source of the evidence means what? Suppose if the evidence is external, from an external party, if you obtain the evidence, that evidence is more reliable. Suppose if you gather evidence from the internal party, like management, then it is less reliable. Therefore, external evidence are more reliable, internal evidence are less reliable. Source of the evidence. Number two, original evidence are more reliable than copy. So when you are taking that original evidence, your original evidence are more reliable than the copy. Original evidence are more reliable than the copy. Third one, original evidence are more reliable than the copy. Third one, written evidence are more reliable than oral evidence. Written evidence are more reliable than oral confirmations, oral evidence, right? So for example, if someone is confirming bank balance orally without confirming through written evidence, then yes, written evidence are more reliable than oral evidence. Next one. Internally generated but subject to effective internal control. But subject to effective internal control. So internally generated evidence, the evidence is internally generated, but it's subject to effective internal control. So normally internally generated evidence are less reliable. External evidence are more reliable. But again, even if it is internally generated, subject to effective internal control. It is subject to what? Effective internal control. Then such evidence is more reliable. Next one, evidence directly obtained by the auditor. Evidence directly obtained by the auditor. If the evidence, if suppose the evidence that is directly obtained by the auditor, that evidence is more reliable than the evidence that received from the management. So these are the factors which influence. These are the factors which influence the reliability. So you should know the summary very well. You should know the summary very well, that audit evidence need to be sufficient and appropriate. Sufficient and appropriate. Sufficiency is a quantifiable aspect and it's a matter of auditor's judgment. There are several factors that influence auditor's judgment, like risk, materiality, population size and experience, and reliability, risk, effectiveness of internal control, all sort of things. At the same time, the evidence need to be relevant. Relevant means the evidence is logically connected with audit objective. If that logical connection is not there, that evidence we call irrelevant evidence. If it is not logically connected, such evidence we call irrelevant evidence. Relevant evidence and irrelevant evidence. And appropriateness, another term for appropriateness is quality evidence. Another term for appropriateness of evidence is quality evidence. So if I take the quality evidence, it's a matter of order, several factors to be considered because those factors influence the reliability. Those factors influence the reliability. What are the factors? What are the factors? Those factors only discussed here. If it is the source external is more reliable than internal, and original is more reliable than copy, and written evidence are more reliable than oral evidence, and internally generated evidence are more reliable than when it is subject to effective internal controls, and the evidence directly obtained by the auditor is more reliable. Directly obtained by the auditor is more reliable. So all these things will affect the reliability. All these things will affect the reliability. Right? Okay, I'll give 2 minutes. Copy this flowchart. Copy this flowchart. This is what I explained. Copy this flowchart. Right. I hope you all copy. Now concentrate. Let's move to a question. See here in this question, Tajuddin works as an audit manager at Rushi Limited, a chartered accountant. During the audit of Kirti Private Limited, Tajuddin expect to confirm bank balance. So Tajuddin expect to confirm bank balance. CEO of Kirti Limited orally confirmed the bank balance to audit manager. So CEO of Kirti Limited orally confirmed the bank balance to audit manager. Right? Tajuddin. Analyze the above case in line with ISA 500 audit evidence. Analyze the above case in line with ISA 500 audit evidence. Right. I'll give 2 minutes. Just copy this question first. Just copy this question first. So here if I take, they ask us to apply. They ask us to apply ISA 500 audit evidence. They ask us to apply what? ISA 500 audit evidence. They ask us to apply ISA 500 audit evidence. So if I take ISA 500 audit evidence, this standard, this particular standard speaks about sufficiency. This standard speaks about appropriateness. So if I take the matter, the given matter here is need to confirm what? Bank balance. So need to confirm bank balance. That's what we need to do. Need to confirm bank balance. So if I take this bank balance, we need to confirm it. And how this particular person is confirming? Orally confirm. Sorry. Orally confirm. So see, oral confirmation. Is it sufficient? Normally cash and bank is subject to risk. So risk is very high in that case. Number two, oral confirmation means there is a problem. If someone is orally confirmed, that is like less reliability. I told you, right? Written evidence are more reliable than oral evidence. So the reliability in this case is very low. So when it comes to less reliability, we need to gather more evidence. So the evidence is not sufficient in this case. That explanation need to be given. And the same time, relevancy. Even orally confirmed or written confirmed, that assertion they are trying to confirm is existence. So the assertion here they are trying to confirm is existence, whether that balance exists or not. So through oral confirmation is also, we can able to confirm that assertion. Therefore, this is relevant evidence only. Right? This is relevant. But the problem is reliability. Right? Oral confirmation is less reliable. So the reliability is the problem here. And reliability is not there. It is relevant, but not sufficient. It is not sufficient, relevant, but not reliable. It is sufficient, not reliable, but it is relevant. That is how you should structure your answer. That is how you should structure your answer.